If you can get past my defenses, steal the crown, you'll be sibling supreme forever.
All of this is to win some fillyhood competition with your brother? I was already in!
I've taken the security here to a whole new level. You're up to something, Twily.
We have to do the opposite of what Shining Armor expects. Therefore, Twilight cannot mastermind the plan.
That's a barrel and a half of obstacles, plus a bushel and a peck of impenetrability.
Who doesn't want to hang cookies?
It's good you're finally being honest with your feelings for the rainbows.
My plan is for each of us to devise our own unexpected part of it. It's almost too easy. No lookout, no distraction, and no word from the ponies inside. I'm starting to think this whole operation might be a giant flop.
But you should know by now, there's no way to beat the true sibling supreme.
When the perfect chance comes along, you do something he can't expect. Then you'll win.
You've been practicing that speech, haven't you?
A little bit. It looked like I rushed. Did I rush it? Maybe Rarity's plan will work. Ugh.
Oh my gosh, I would totally watch this. If I wasn't already starring in it. Oh, wait. Crud, 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 crud! So here we are, the 200th episode. An amazing milestone for a show that, at one time, fans weren't sure would last beyond a single season. But hang on, when I reviewed the 100th episode, I had a smorgasbord of guest stars. Well, fret not, I have at least one totally genuine YouTuber to join me. Please welcome the infinitely blamable A&Y Pony.
Yay.
Any reservations about diving into this episode, A&Y?
Nay.
Excellent. Let's start the fun, shall we?
Look at the scroll I just got!
It's more fun when Spike belches them out. Right, A&Y?
Yay.
Indeed.
Do you know what this means?
I don't.
Thank goodness for Starlight. A phrase I'm sure many fans wouldn't want to say. Yet she acts as the audience's proxy, as Twilight and Spike have no other reason to exposit. It's awkward enough when the exposition expressed causes the characters to voice their histories aloud to ponies that already know the situation. At least here, Starlight needs to come up to speed.
When Shining Armor and I were small, we competed over everything.
Oh, I'm not sure we all appreciate this development. So let me take you back to Shining Armor's introductory song in a very suspicious verse.
We never had a single fight. We did everything to
Did you catch that?
We never had a single fight.
I remember my first reaction to this being intensely negative. Speaking as a younger sibling myself, fights are a part of growing up. In fact, to claim that you never fought with someone is to say they never pushed you, never asked you to step outside your comfort zone and try new things. Now we have a set of flashbacks that show a relationship that was competitive without being hostile. Shining did push Twilight, and maybe acted a little antagonistic.
He taught me how to fly a kite.
I'm not saying I want him to be cruel, but a relationship is more interesting when the respective quirks become obstacles.
To keep it friendly, our parents gave us gold stars every time we did something special. And at the end of each week, we'd add up the stars. The sibling with the most would win the crown of the sibling supreme.
Okay, on this topic I'm more uncertain. I'm all for positive reinforcement to encourage good deeds and effort, but would a system like this foster the right kind of growth? Well, according to several studies conducted by Columbia University.
Nay.
Ah, good call, A&Y. Now's not the time for a rather lengthy talk about encouragement techniques. That'll come in a later video.
Yay.
So for now, I'll just say that there's a fault with this gold star system. It appears to reward outcomes rather than processes, which many argue leads to a fear of failure, which is something Twilight struggles against, and indeed she'll face that challenge this episode.
Guess I'll watch the school?
Sass all you like, Starlight. This marks the end of your role for this episode. because the focus shifts to Canterlot and this little topic called security.
With the return of Sombra, Princess Luna and I felt it was time to reinforce the castle's defenses.
Yes, Sombra's return. Not the Changeling invasion or abduction by Wicked Flora, or T-Rex Magic Train rampage, or mass abduction by changelings, or the Storm King's conquest. This fabulous conqueror is the one who pushed the line too far. What did he do that others did not? He messed with the throne room's feng shui. The Fiend.
So I asked our old captain of the guard to handle the job.
Old captain of the guard? Who's the new one? You know, given what we'll see later on in this episode, I could totally believe this. Anywho, Shining has beefed up security by limiting usable magic, expanding both the guard number and mare to stallion ratio, blocking off aerial approach, underground approach, added security checks, and...
Geese.
Personally, I would have gone with the Laughing Kookaburra. Darken the lights and your alarm system doubles as a horror movie. But I hear you say, Silver, you giddy goshawk. Why is Shining Armor giving away all his secrets? A fair question, given that this security system needs a test.
You want me to break into Celestia's castle?
Yes, the focus of this episode is a heist story. If Shining is expecting his sister to make a play to steal the Sibling Supreme crown, is it wise for him to actually reveal all his traps and security measures? I'd argue that it is. For one, he trusts Twilight enough to know that she won't put anyone in danger with this exercise, and that she'd gather the info one way or another. By controlling the flow of information, he has direct knowledge of what she knows. And she knows that he knows that she'll know to plan around the fact that he knows. But because he knows that she knows that he knows, that he'll plan around her plans based on the fact that he knows that she knows. But knowing Twilight, she knows that he knows that she knows that he knows, and will plan around that he knows that she knows that he knows that she knows. But Shining Armor could know that she knows, and he knows that she knows about him knowing about her knowing that he knows. So he could plan based on the idea that he knows that she knows that he is in the know, and that her knowing about his knowing is about her knowing. Or, to put it more concisely, too late! By trading information, Shining Armor actually removes a number of variables and is now able to mess with Twilight by predicting her entire plan. Thus, we face a fresh twist.
Therefore, Twilight cannot mastermind the plan, but I can!
You sure you want to do that, Rarity? After all, Twilight has the most experience with breaking and entering an attempted theft. Twice. Which brings us within a question very relevant to this episode. Why a heist story? The 100th episode focused around a wedding because one could watch all the overlapping stories unfold before converging at the event. Here, however, the focus is upon the lead heroines and their voice actresses. Each actress got to come up with a scenario for the ponies they voice. Case in point, Andrea Liebman thought it would be fun to have Pinkie Pie flying through space. And there's more info to be found in a behind-the-scenes video that Hasbro put out before this episode, which just so happens to give away the ending.
And it had a little bit of sentimental moments there, so he finally gets his family, and I think that was really awesome.
I'm all for hype, but what the hey, Hasbro? My personal favorite is Ashley Ball's idea for Applejack's secret identity as a famous country singer.
Applejack? Who's that? My name's Apple Cord.
My buds on the MBS show corrected my hearing on that. That's apple cord as in musical chord. For some reason, I always heard apple core.
Did you just make all that up, or did that actually happen?
Please say yes, please say yes.
Please say yes, 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 please
the question of why this is framed within a heist story. It's certainly a classic. The 12-minute silent movie The Great Train Robbery is considered to be the first cinematic blockbuster, and it's all about bandits on a raid. But consider some of the elements we often see in heist stories, starting with the opposition. Whether it's casinos in Ocean's 11, the Charlotte Motor Speedway in Logan Lucky, or the Mafia in The Italian Job, there's some element present to make us dislike the party that is going to be the robbery victim.
With your bad leg, and he's missing an arm, hand, it's like the two of you almost add up to one normal person.
Even though our protagonists are committing a crime, we root for them because they're taking aim at an institution that we view as corrupt, cruel, and/or greedy. It's a similar feeling to the righteous thievery of Robin Hood. Twilight and friends don't face this moral gray because they've been invited to test Canterlot's security. Yet I look at Shining Armor and his pride while wearing that crown, and I see a pony who might stand some humble pie. He's just antagonistic enough to get us to root for Twilight without going so far as to become unlikable himself. The second aspect of heist stories is that while we may view the events through the leader, the appeal lies in the talented gang. a collection of individuals who pool their abilities to accomplish success that would be outside an individual's reach.
Bleach pens is pure sodium hypochlorite. Combined with the potassium chloride and the salt substitute, we have created an equal exchange of ions.
Okay, I admit that I didn't expect that character to behave so smart, but in my defense, I'm very judgmental. I learned at Everfree Northwest that Tabitha St. Germain understands Rarity so much, she often goes off script during recordings. It's hard to know what's originally scripted and what's her improvisation. Funny enough, Rarity doesn't improvise quite so well when the bar she wanted to visit is closed.
What sort of information do you need?
The location to a secret entrance to the passages under Canterlot Castle?
You mean that one?
What a helpful fellow. Methinks Fancy Pants has competition for the best stallion in Canterlot. A stark contrast to the guard.
Zephyr Breeze? And he's totally obsessed with me.
Compared to Zephyr Breeze being a guard, you could name Snails the captain and I'd have an easier time believing it. Yet his presence leads to the best moment in the episode. And remember, Ashley Ball wanted this to happen. And though Zephyr's advances towards Rainbow can quickly become uncomfortable, I do love how seriously he takes his guard job.
The mares love a pony in uniform, am I right?
Hey, the last captain of the guard wound up being part of the royal family. I could see a few stallions hoping something similar would prove true. Am I right, Flash?
Yay. And I go down the hallway and go, ow, 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 ow.
Wow, that armor is surprisingly flexible. Can y'all do that? So graceful. So while this is going on, Fluttershy and Spike make their bid for the crown only to wind up in a pit. A far cry from the super thief fantasy they shared.
Once I got trapped in the castle of the two sisters, and Angel Bunny and I were separated. Now whenever I'm in a tiny room, it's all I can think about.
Continuity of past trauma. Oh my gosh, that is dark. It's here that the value of these failed attempts starts to come together. When I talked about Uprooted, one criticism was that the failed efforts of each individual student didn't contribute towards the final success. Both this episode and the ideas behind heist movies are a very different presentation. Within the larger heist, we want to see how characters are going to adapt to the unforeseen. It can make for some of the funniest moments.
You sucked my arm off.
Such moments can also help reveal a character's depth. A big part of Spike and Fluttershy's failed attempt is giving Spike the chance to confess his feelings.
I was always excited to be a part of Twilight's and Shining Armor's rivalry, like I was their little brother. But they never really thought of me that way.
Thus setting the stage for the audience to sympathize with him. And the two are able to escape confinement thanks to Rarity and Rainbow Dash's misadventure. Applejack manages to procure a guard badge thanks to Pinky's unintended distraction. All of this comes together when Spike voices some brotherly truth to Twilight.
It may not be a surprise, but you have a pretty good record for planning things.
Then I guess it's worth a try. Thanks, Spike.
Wait for it. I'm sure there'll be heartbreak any minute.
What are little brothers for?
Okay.
Much like Shining Armor's pride, this is a moment where our sympathy shifts from Twilight to Spike. Thus, we feel a certain justification with a final twist. Twilight and friends, with some help from an awesome cameo, successfully best all the security, including the geese, when...
Not exactly.
Oh, come on!
I am really torn by this. Shining Armor was very clever here. Twilight assumed he told all his defenses and thus he's outwitted her. Makes me doubly appreciate that he controlled the information flow with some showmanship. At the same time, all of this is supposed to stop a much more aggressive force than Twilight. Is he really going to have a pony hiding behind the throne at all hours? Because that better be some kind of last resort. Well done, my Twitter-mite-motored monstrosities! Now that we have cleared away all that annoying security, Canterlot is ours!
Nay.
Oh shoot! No pony said that A and Y would be involved! Because he is the greatest and most powerful pony in all— Hey, stop messing with my script!
Nay.
So it looks like Twilight is 0 for 3 in the thieving game. Not a bad ratio if I'm being honest. Yet here's where all the seemingly disparate parts of the story come together. Turns out Spike pilfered the crown while Shining was gloating, courtesy of some help. Warning, the following image may be the greatest moment for a princess ever. Witnessing it may ruin all other princesses. Viewer discretion is advised. There is a valid question in all this. Why wait until every pony was assembled to turn over the crown? Luna could have spirited it to Spike at any point, especially while they were underground. My argument would be that showmanship is part of this experience. Luna wants to make a statement about internal security and Celestia's pride. So what better time to reveal this than when she thinks those defenses have succeeded? It's also here that we get to see one of the funnest elements of a heist story, the plan within the plan. This isn't always present, but it can take several forms. Maybe one plan's failure is part of a larger plan, or perhaps the main planner wanted a second personal objective. Or we learn that even some of the mistakes were intentional. All three versions are present here. Almost everything that went wrong was by Spike and Luna's intent. This gives them the chance to accomplish their goal to make a statement. Such a thing is only possible if they intervene at just the right moment. These two definitely have a talent for the dramatic reveal, and while Celestia and Luna might have a few things to work out, Spike is certainly emerging with stronger bonds.
Spike.
Huh? The little brother we've always had.
Aww. Much like learning more about Shining and Twilight's childhood, this episode also fleshes out Shining Armor's relation with Spike. I always wondered how close they were, given how Spike was adopted by Twilight. There's been a long-standing debate if Spike is Twilight's adoptive brother or adoptive son. I've often viewed it as a sibling relationship where Twilight is very maternal. I'm glad to see that addressed here. In fact, I'm glad for this whole shebang. The humor is great, the scenes imagined by the acting cast are fun, and everyone has a chance to shine. It taps into elements that make heist stories so appealing without making any of the characters immoral. Spike gets to stand out as his relationship with Twilight is further developed, and he's shown a great deal of respect. Yet my favorite aspect in all this was actually Shining Armor. When he first hit the scene, I dismissed him as a vehicle by which the writers could form a connection between Cadance and Twilight. He was presented as an ideal big brother whose only aspect was total affection for his sister. Yet in more recent seasons, he's gotten to be a fanboy, a new father wrestling with responsibility, and now his relationships with both Twilight and Spike have further evolved. It's a very positive showing for him, and dare I suggest that he's now a more dynamic character than his wife? At the same time, however, he has failed in one important aspect. Even with the Zephyr Breeze being a plant by Luna and Spike, the Royal Guard are not living up to their titles. They're distracted by entertainment pieces not once, but twice. For all the upgrades and diversification, the core problem remains. So listen up, you colorful collection of clods. This army needs to be whipped into shape, and I'm the one to do it. I am your very angry instructor, Janitor First Class Silver-Quill, and this is Janitor Assistant A&Y Pony.
Nay.
We are here to whip you lot into shape, starting with 100 laps around the frozen yogurt stand. And if I see even one of you cast a longing glance, you'll wish Chrysalis has succeeded in her first invasion. Now get moving! Hut 1, Hut 2. I'm Silver-Quill. Thanks for watching. Come along, A&Y.
Yay, nay, yay, nay, yay, nay, yay, nay, yay, nay, yay, nay.